Yo, what's going on? It's your favorite publisher here, Anthony with Shroomski Magazine, back for another episode of the Shroomski Sessions here from Shroomskiville, USA, Denver, Colorado. You know that's where we do it all from. Everybody wants to be here, but we're actually here, okay? And I'm real pumped about this episode right now. If you haven't figured it out, I even dressed up for the occasion, okay? We, in the last episode, we were talking about like an article that I had written, like a topic, okay? And that was the future of psychedelics. This one, big one right here, the entrepreneur's mind on psychedelics, okay? It was one that I had written here at the end of last year. It's in the Morgan Mandala issue, and it's a near and dear subject to me, right? Because I've been trying forever to like fucking not work for anybody else, okay? As long as I can remember, all right? I watched my dad at the horse track as a kid. He didn't fucking work for anybody else. He ran his own show, and he lived with the results, whether it was good or bad. And I watched my dad actually take more losses than I saw him win. And he was my example of watching somebody be able to like shake off a bad performance and just get back to the drawing board. You know what I mean? I would see that a lot growing up. And being at the horse track, everybody's trying to hit it big. You know what I mean? Everybody's trying to hit it big. They're all trying to cash in the big ticket. And, the truth of that is there's a lot of losing tickets. There's more losers leaving the track than there are winners, right? But you see some people hit it big, and that's the hook in the mouth, and everybody would go there. The one thing that I remember, about my dad's friends and him as well is like they all had another side hustle. Like the track was where they would go, kind of let it loose and do their thing, but they all had another side hustle. So everybody's got to have some hustle and some side hustle. And that's like an entrepreneur's mind, right? You don't want to sit back and work for somebody. The ideal situation is to go work for yourself. You know what I mean? And that's the dream of everybody. And I believe that some of the best entrepreneurs on this planet, or the ones that have ever lived, have used psychedelics. And we know that actually as fact, to get some kind of advantage, some kind of edge in their industries that they were in and what they were pursuing. The first one that comes to mind is Steve Jobs, okay? Everybody knows him. He was the main brain and everything behind Apple's innovative products, and he was, basically, in the 70s, early 70s, was experimenting with LSD here and there. Now, he had he had left, whatever, he'd gotten fired from Apple, whatever the fuck they did, and then he got with that Next company. It was Next, actually. That was the name of the company, and he had an interview with the Department of Defense, and he admitted to using LSD, maybe, a handful of times. Probably used it fucking more. I would have lied a little bit. You know what I mean? And, when you look at what he did and where Apple went, is it a coincidence? I don't know. But here's really the other telling side of it, is where you look where they came out of. It was the Bay Area, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and like that was the height of where psychedelic drugs were taking place. LSD, mostly there in San Francisco in the late 60s and 70s. That carried through. And I believe that the advanced... That Silicon Valley is so unique. It's a bunch of the brightest minds on the planet. They're all in a concentrated area. And I believe that a lot of that drive and that push to do stuff and to go further, I think it got advanced by LSD, psychedelics. I really do. I feel like it had a lot to do with shaping that area. And it might not have been put out in print for everyone to read, but we're speculating here 40-something years later, 30 years later, and I think so. I really do. I think it had a lot to do with it. You look at another entrepreneur of today's news, right, current times, is Elon Musk. He's come out talking about how he likes to use ketamine to kind of snap out of things when he's in a funk, and, guy runs like fucking 19 companies and shit and trying to go to Mars. You know what I mean? You may need to just disconnect for a few, okay? So, you look at that, and you say to yourself, what kind of advantages, granted, and this is, I've thought about going to Mars before when I've tripped, but I didn't leave the fucking place and go to my garage and start building the ship. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know how fucking deep this guy got on some of these trips, but I think he's used ketamine to advance what he thought was possible, because every damn invention he's coming out with is like a complete rethought on a whole industry. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of, rethought cars and came back and just basically fucking picked up Ford, Chevy, Toyota, and like Dodge, and like shook the fucking money out of their pockets and like grabbed the biggest market share and like just redesigned the concept of a vehicle, right, and how it runs. So I think that the guy, I don't know if he's used LSD. By the way, Elon, if you do, holla, you know what I'm saying? Or we'll work something out. We'll do a little brainstorm or something. I can fly down there to Texas. It's all good. So I feel like he's used that to push his entrepreneurial mind further, right? And I feel like you can do the same thing. A lot of it has to do, in my opinion, so much of it has to do, I like to think of this, your mind as like the transmission on a vehicle, first gear, second gear, all the way up to like a seventh gear, right? We're talking like Lambos, okay? Ferraris, all right? If you're sitting at home in first or second gear, and you're really not pushing yourself, okay? The chances of you solving world hunger on your first LSD brainstorm, pretty slim. You're probably not going to pull it off. We got to get you out there in the world tinkering with some shit, all right? But if you're like a do-it-yourselfer, you're building things, you're taking them down, you're whatever, all engineers, scientists. I mean, I believe the people who are really, really pushing their minds and what it's capable of, when you take these things, you're in a different gear. So if you're already sitting there in fourth gear, you know what I mean? You're moving pretty fast, but there's other, you can find yourself into fifth or sixth gear, and it's really comes down to like, don't get me wrong, you may have stuff coming to your head, but what I really suggest is that you trip with the intentions of brainstorming something that you're doing business-wise, right? And obsessing on it and putting all, surrounding yourself with all kinds of clues and indicators and things that would tip you off to like, what is the current, status of what you're focusing on, and how can you look at it differently, right? How many questions can you fire at yourself? Just you keep firing questions, you're going to eventually get some really good answers if you ask really good questions. And that's what I believe a lot of the entrepreneurs, including myself, have done to get whatever they're trying to work on done and make it stand out or unique or make something different about it, And as a matter of fact, that's how Shroomski came about. You know what I mean? I'd wound up, I was already in the weed industry, and I hadn't taken psychedelics in a long time. It was probably like 8 years or so. I don't even think I was in my 30s. I don't think I'd tripped in my 30s. I think I'd gotten those when I was about 38, 39 or something like that. And I had eaten them a bunch, tripped really hard. And I came out of that with a completely different mindset on how I was going to approach wholesaling weed and having some kind of marketing edge in weed, which was with my 0420 company. I was like, okay, I want to throw events. And that's really, even though, that's where the events thing's kind of coming from. I was like, I can throw weed events. This doesn't seem all that hard. It's not fucking rocket science, if you could imagine, okay? So like, these are things I thought I could do. And once I got my hands on some mushrooms, and then we decriminalized them here like another year or two later, whatever it was, I was really thinking about that. And I had eaten mushrooms numerous times, not with necessarily the intention of brainstorming, but I would always kind of, my mind always would go back to some kind of business thing, right? And then even though I was thinking about doing the it wasn't until I really got my hands on some LSD again, and it had been so long since I had taken it, that I was taking it with the intentions then of, I would just seem to focus on what I could do. And that's what I would do. I would ask myself a bunch of questions. What can I do now in the world of psychedelics that can make me relevant now? Like, what could I do now? And like Shroomski was it eventually. Like I started realizing I wanted to be on the marketing side of things, and all these artists that were around me, it was making it impossible to not see like they're depicting what I'm seeing while I trip. I got to kind of blend the two together, and that's where Shroomski came from. At least the premise and the origin of how I was kind of doing it, it was coming from LSD trips, controlled ones, okay? And, ones where, I'm out there to focus on something, and I feel like entrepreneurs all over the world can get that. You know what I mean? I feel like it's something that's there for them, and they just have to go seek it. So, that's really what we were doing here for this episode, is we wanted to let it be known that entrepreneurs for a long time and in the future are going to be using psychedelics to get some sort of competitive edge in their respective industries or whatever they're trying to do, right? Whatever they're trying to invent, whatever it is, they're trying to get outside the normal frame of mind of what they're thinking about and see something else, come from a different perspective and see it differently. And then from there, run with it, and that's kind of the way it goes with that as an entrepreneur. You hear something new, you find something new, you see New England, you go after it. So that's why we wanted to do this episode, okay? It was so important to me to come out here and talk about entrepreneurs, okay, on psychedelics. Like I said, I even put the button-down shirt on. I wanted to look a little extra professional. I know I look richer just wearing this shirt, okay? So, yeah, this is it. We're kind of spiraling down here to the end of the episode of Shroomski session number 7, okay? And that's it. You know what time it is, okay? You got to go put a like on this, all right? Obviously, you've already subscribed. We don't even need to get into that shit, okay? Now, go tell somebody, all right? This is the trifecta of Shroomski. This is the way you wrap it up, and you feel good when you go to bed at night. Until next time, boys and girls, it's your boy Anthony over here with Shroomski, and I'll see you next time.